Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Tim Reiner. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Let me introduce my co-host to you, Dan Maldonado. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Timmy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good job on that intro, dude.
You know, every once in a while, I got to try it out. Let me finish it up here. We are not insiders. We attempt to give you a fan's perspective on IndyCar racing. Tonight, we have a roundup of current news and notes around IndyCar, F1, IMSA, and Extreme E.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We do.
We do, Dan. How you doing?
I'm all right.
I know I already asked, but I want to ask again.
I'm doing very good. I'm doing very good.
2 weeks in a row.
I know. You like it?
I do like it. And I got my shot at doing the intro, and I loved it. It was great.
You did good.
I try.
You did good. I wish we'd have recorded the first take because I think that was value.
The first take, there was a lot of laughter, which is good. We like to laugh, and we like to
That's
have
right,
a good
we do.
time. And maybe we should have kept it in. I'm sure it's
For
still
sure we
on
do.
the recording. So if you leave it in, our listeners may get their own laugh.
Right. Are you wearing that 44 hat in homage to Lewis Hamilton? Because I realize you're, a big fan and, apologist.
I'm a fan of all F1 drivers. The 44 hat is not, I repeat, is not a Lewis Hamilton hat. It is a Magnus racing hat. And that's what I have it on for the GT series and IMSA.
I like it. Did you get that at when we were at Mid-Ohio a couple years ago?
No, I did not. We did get a shirt when we were in Detroit and we went to the race. But that shirt that my son was wearing became too small and too torn up that we bought him another one for his birthday. And so when we bought him that shirt, I ordered this hat, which is very nice, but it is the number 44.
Nice. Big racing fans, the Reiner kids. We appreciate that.
They are big racing fans. That is true.
Yep.
And even our dog.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. The engaged dog, because the other dog just kind of chills.
Yes, the engaged, the young one that's named Andretti.
That's right.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
We call her Dre for short. So we'll give it up to Dr. Dre and we'll give it up to the Andretti family.
It was Andy for a little while, wasn't it?
It was Andy too. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a beast. She's not a lap dog. I'll tell you that much. She's not. She's a big dog.
That she's not. Yeah. She's anxious. Kind of like my lap dog, right? My 53-pound lap dog. He likes to.
Yeah. They all try to be, right?
I know. It's so funny.
Yep.
Hey, kicking off the show here, we promised this in the last episode. We were going to talk a little bit more about Al Unser Sr. I just wanted to kick off here with a couple of quotes. First one from Mario Andretti described Al this way. He said he was very polished, one of the smartest race drivers as far as racecraft that he's ever known. AJ Foyt, quote, he was a great race driver that was never recognized for his ability as good as he was. I would say that compliment is about as solid as you can get coming from two legends of IndyCar, of motorsport, period, AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti.
I would agree completely.
Yeah. Some of Al's accomplishments: Al won the 1970 and 1971, 1978 and 1987 Indy 500s. There's some numerology for you, right? 1978 and 1987 Indy 500s. He was only the second driver to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times. He won the IndyCar championship in 1983 and 1985. Do you know who he beat for that IndyCar championship in 1985?
I do know who he beat. He beat his son.
Yes, he
by
did.
1 point.
1 point. Can you imagine that? That's something for the Thanksgiving table, I imagine.
Yeah.
Right. In the Christmas meal. So,
and 85 is the spin and win by Danny Sullivan, right?
Is it?
Yes.
I will take your word for it. I love that. I love that you pulled that out. Nice job. Nice job on that one, Timmy.
And did you know, one other cool note on this topic here is, do you know that Al Unser is the all-time lap leader at Indy?
I did not know that.
With 644 laps.
It's fantastic.
Maybe that's why I have the 44 hat on today.
644 laps.
Yes, all-time leader.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Al's first
Didn't know
win
that.
was at Nazareth Speedway in 1968. His last win coming at Indianapolis in 1987. His accomplishments outside IndyCar, he was the IROC champ in 1977. Best finishes in NASCAR was a fourth place at Daytona in the old Riverside Raceway in California. He won the 24 Hours of Daytona in a Porsche 962. I don't know if that was an overall win or if that was a class win. If I had to guess, I would say it was probably a class win.
It was an overall win.
Oh, it was?
It was.
Wow.
AJ Foyt was on his team.
Oh, no kidding.
No kidding. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. That's a great little factoid there.
Mm-hmm.
Good job on that one, Timmy. He even has a non-championship race credit in Formula One, where he finished 24th place in Quebec. We saw him this past May outside St. Elmo's Steakhouse in Indianapolis. To me, he looked pretty good. You know, I mean, he was an older man, right? For sure, but not somebody I would have guessed we would be eulogizing 7 months later.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. He looked good. He was there with his son. He was there with Eddie Cheever, Scott Goodyear. They were all there.
Willie T.
Obviously having
Ribs.
dinner. Yeah. And
Yeah.
we saw them all, shook hands with a few, and it was good to see them. And it's unfortunate that he's passed.
Yeah. That's one of the things, we're talking about Al Sr. here, but one of the things definitely that you and I talked about, and I think we noticed right off the bat, was the time that he spent with the fans on the sidewalk, signing, pictures and old pictures and items that people had to be signed. I mean, he gave everybody a lot of time. It didn't seem rushed or just kind of checking the box, kind of going through the motions or anything. He was engaging with each and every one of those autograph seekers and the people who were out there to see the drivers, because they know that was a major hangout for drivers, especially the day before the Indy 500. So, really terrific man. I mean, it seemed from what we could see in that experience, and a very accomplished race car driver. So certainly be missed.
Yep, definitely.
Moving on in IndyCar news, another, sad point for me here. James Hinchcliffe has announced that he's closing the book as a full-time IndyCar driver, but not leaving racing in general. I would suspect, maybe an Indy 500 opportunity here and there, probably a IMSA drive, as part of the, the endurance teams. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens for Hinch there. But any of that, I'll have to weave into a full-time role with NBC Sports as an analyst. He's replacing Paul Tracy alongside Lee Diffie and Townsend Bell. It sounds from Hinch's interview with Marshall Pruitt on Marshall Pruitt's podcast that he had something lined up with IMSA full-time, but that obviously didn't come through. Marshall seemed to be pretty jazzed up about whatever that opportunity was in IMSA.
It seemed like it was a big deal, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm a little sad to see Hinch not driving full time in IndyCar. I think he'll get his chances to still ride around a little bit and do some things. So I think we'll still see him out there somewhat, but it'll be interesting. He'll be really good in the booth as he's been in the past. And he'll give a really good driver's perspective. He did that when he was on our show. And I think he'll be able to give, the insights. I know he's friends with a lot of the drivers as well, which I think he mentioned in one of the articles that was written. But at the end of the day, I think he'll be honest with his feedback and give his critiques of the racing and what should and could have happened in those races. So it'll be good to see him up there. I'm a little sad to see Paul Tracy go, though.
Yeah, me too.
On that front.
Yep. Big fan of Paul Tracy. But you and I also came up with, being fans of IndyCar at a time where Paul Tracy was in the car, right? So I think that to you and I, to see Paul on TV is a little different perspective because we saw Paul race, so we have a little different feeling toward him. So Hinch, a little more recency bias, right? I mean, he's just now coming out of the car. People know him as a driver, understand what his accomplishments have been in the car. So interesting thought just occurred to me here while you were saying that is, excuse me, Hinch. You think he's too nice a guy? I mean, he was a terrific guy when we had him on the phone. Do you think he's too nice a guy to call out somebody being a bonehead?
I don't think so. I think he'll do it in a manner that's respectful to that driver, right?
Yeah,
But I think
Hinch way. Yeah.
he'll see it. He'll call it the way he sees it, and I don't think he'll play favoritisms for any of the drivers that he's really close to. So I think we'll see, honest, good broadcasting from him.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm bummed to see him leave the cockpit. Obviously, I want to see him do something else. I really did expect to see him in himself. I'm surprised that something didn't come through for him there. It doesn't mean it won't. The LMDH programs that'll come up next year in 23. Perhaps there'll be something for him, at that time. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I just wonder what his contract says with regard to being able to get in a car. If you're scheduled to be in the booth and you want to drive the Indy 500, is there some type of clause that he can do that and get out and do that? Maybe not year one, but maybe beyond that, once he's settled in, they'll open that up a little bit. But we don't know. We'll see what comes of it. He said he wasn't done, so I'm sure there's something in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right, I would definitely put something like that in there because you never know. Right, you just never know. Alexander Rossi. Right. I feel like you can't talk about Hinch without talking about Rossi.
Yeah.
So Rossi says he's not ready to sign an extension with Andretti. He is, quote, downsizing his racing calendar to concentrate on getting back to winning ways. Do you think that schedule change or just focusing more on IndyCar? I mean, he does have an IMSA ride lined up, I think, with Wayne Taylor Racing. So it's downsizing, but how much that means, I don't know. But do you think that matters, Tim?
I think it totally matters, right? You got to really work on your craft when you're driving those Indy cars. You hear drivers come up and say they race the Indy car and they talk about, how they've changed with the aero screen, but you also talk about just the sheer weight of those vehicles and the power needed to just steer them through the corners. So I think focusing on that is good for him because over the last couple of years, he's had a little bit of a downslide in results. And so, if you're focused on one thing, you master your craft there, you take into account all the little things that need to happen in an Indy car to be competitive in a quote unquote spec series. I think it's going to be super helpful for him.
Right. So working on his race craft and being able to concentrate on IndyCar, as you're aware, there was a website recently that talked about James Hinch or about Alexander Rossi. And I believe the quote was he might have, quote, run out of talent, which I
don't know where that was coming from.
Yeah, nobody does. They got killed for suggesting something so completely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I don't believe for a second that Alexander Rossi's run out of talent. I don't know that, the time that he has spent racing in other series or in other areas, I think is taken away from his IndyCar endeavors or his success in IndyCar. I don't think so. I don't do that though. So it's hard for me to say. I guess I look at it more from the perspective of he gets a chance to continually hone his craft, being able to stay sharp and, and just, I think seat time is seat time, even though, yeah, braking points and acceleration and things in IMSA are not going to be the same as they are in IndyCar, but it still keeps you sharp. Right. It still gives you an opportunity to go out and continue to do the things that you do well, which is he's a race car driver. So race cars. I don't think it matters.
I think it matters somewhat because you get used to the way a certain vehicle handles, and then you try to apply that to a vehicle that doesn't handle those characteristics. And maybe you're losing a tenth here, you're losing 3/10 in those corners, or whatever it might be. I think if you focus on one discipline, you're going to get better and you're going to be able to get the most out of the car. And he's 30 years old. Mm-hmm. So he's not super young anymore in racing years, if you want to call that. So I think it would be good for him.
Right. Well, I guess we'll see. Right. I think we'll have to see what happens next year when they suit up and they take the grid in St. Pete. And we'll see what happens there. I mean, I'm rooting for him. He's not somebody I've necessarily rooted for in the past. It's not like I don't dislike any of these guys, right? It's, you have your favorites and you have your drivers that you root for and whatever. But to me, I gravitate toward personality, right? I gravitate toward like Hinch and, guys like that, Graham, and, I liked Bobby Rahal back in the day. I liked Paul Tracy back in the day. Those were the guys that I rooted for numbers of reasons. But, for me, a lot of that starts with personality. I root for Max Verstappen. I think the personality is kind of cool, right? He doesn't care, right?
And you root for Kimmy, right?
I love Kimmy, and Kimmy has a weird personality, right?
Yeah.
Like very dry and just very matter of fact, and that's probably what it is, right? He's just very matter of fact. So
yeah,
I kind of dig that. One guy who I think you and I have both been rooting for all season long in 2021 was Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy has finally confirmed full-time in IndyCar next year, which means all the ovals. So not just Indianapolis, but that also includes Texas and Iowa and Gateway. Right. So we will do a series leading up to St. Pete on this, but I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are, how this running the full schedule will change Jimmy's year in 22.
I think he'll be really good on ovals and he'll be mediocre on all the other courses.
He continue to struggle.
I think that's I think he's still gonna struggle a little bit. It takes a lot to figure out an IndyCar, and it takes a lot coming from a NASCAR that is so much bigger. You do ovals all the time, braking, shifting, things of that sort that you got to get used to, even pit stops and whatnot. So I think he's going to do better than last year for sure. I don't expect to see him, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't expect to see him in the top 10 all the time, but hopefully he is. We know he has the equipment to do it. It's just a matter of getting used to that vehicle, and we know he's got the talent.
Yeah, definitely. Again, no shortage of talent, right? It's not a talent issue. I think it's just where he is in the career spectrum, and being able to adapt a very long career in NASCAR to an IndyCar career in his 40s, right? He's just younger than you and I. Yeah. So
he's
43,
42, something like that.
Right. So
maybe he's 44.
Maybe he's 44. Numerology, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. The hat has a lot of meanings today, folks.
Don't know, unfortunately, what this means for Tony Kanaan, another good personality in the sport. I guess we'll wait and see, because there was no announcement that came along with that, and Chip's not talking about it, and Tony is not talking about it yet. He did congratulate Jimmy on the decision to run the full season. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Chip will take a couple of those bucks that he made selling that NASCAR team and be able to line up 5 cars on the grid to honor his contract with Tony Kanaan. Or maybe Chip farms him out to another Honda team.
Could be. I'd like to see him in IndyCar, but that's just me.
That's what I'm saying. No, that Chip could always farm him out to, let's say, a Dale
one of the other Honda teams
or something. Yeah.
Run
during
I can see that
race weekend. Yeah.
With
spot. Although if you're going to do that, right? I don't do that. So I don't know what all advantage that would be to farming out Tony Kanaan somewhere. So
Jimmy Johnson is actually 46.
He's our age.
He was born in 75.
Despite all this gray beard, only 46. Just
for men. I'm gonna put that in there.
No way. Daughter said I can't do it because everybody knows I have a great beard. Speaking of coin, Vassar Sullivan announced that they were ending their partnership with Dale Coyne. I don't know if this means they will partner up somewhere else. I don't know that there are Honda partnerships out there to be had, to be frank with you. I don't believe that there are, if you just look up and down what we think is going to be the confirmed grid. But what we don't know is, officially what Carlin's situation is, and we don't officially know what Junko's situation is, but those are not Honda teams. So what that means for Vassar Sullivan, maybe that just means that they concentrate their efforts in IMSA on their GT program. So with Alexis. So maybe that means they step back, wait for, the new engine formula in 23, and then, possibly be able to do their own team go it alone without having to rely on a partnership somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a regroup.
It
Come
could
back.
go. Yep. It could also go along with my theory that Toyota's coming in, because where would you want to put yourself, right? Wouldn't you want to align yourself with a team that's already aligned with you in another series?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, makes total sense, right? Talking about Lexus, Toyota.
Yeah.
That's a good theory, Dan. I like that. I think we'll have to watch that one and see if it comes to fruition.
Yeah. These are the things I literally make up on the fly while
Well,
doing this.
I didn't see it in the notes, so you must be making it up.
I am making it up. David Malukas confirmed at Coin with HMD. And so far, in my opinion, the best livery so far of the 2022 cars. I don't think we've gotten a clean look at the new Hy-Vee livery yet. So right now,
I don't think we have.
I right now I'm saying that the HMD entry at Coin is the best livery.
Have we gotten a look at any of the entries?
Not yet, but who's really going to change?
I think they're all going to change a little bit. That's the thing to do. They're wraps, right? You just rip it off and put a new one on. No. At least that's what I would think should be done, right? Let's redo them.
Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, HMD is the Malukas family trucking company out of Chicago. So I actually expect good things out of David at Coin. I really do. I think this is going to be a good run for him, and I think he's gonna do well there. I feel like that's really the seat that was vacated by Roman Grosjean. I'm not saying that David Malukas is at the caliber of driver that Roman Grosjean is, but he's stepping into a car that's very capable. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he is. And he's got the backing of his family's trucking company?
He does.
Okay. Well, good.
Pato Award tested the McLaren Formula One entry during the quote young drivers test in Abu Dhabi, and he was blown away as expected. So good for him. Got a little quote from him. I'm in loss of words about today, Award said. The experience and first of all, the opportunity is rare, once in a lifetime, but wow. These cars are ridiculous. I was expecting crazy and insane, and this is crazy and insane times 10.
I believe it. That's some serious horsepower behind those cars and amazing braking abilities. So you drive those cars much deeper into the corner than you would an Indy car. And I'm sure there are rocket ships coming out of the corner, and even the speeds in the corner, right? Just from the aero and the grip. I think it compares to none, right? It's like an F1 fighter, if you want to call that, a jet fighter that's on the circuit. So I'm glad he had fun. I think any of these drivers would have fun out there.
Pato's the author of one of those, the questions that I had a couple of times here when we had guests with Hinch and Bob Barsha was, do all drivers aspire to Formula One? Obviously, Pato aspires to Formula One, but I have that fear that he could be putting too much attention or too much focus in that basket as opposed to what's actually in front of him. How do you feel about that?
I think he's going to be laser focused on IndyCar this year. I think he wants to win the championship, which will then be the launch pad to go to F1. So, he's obviously pursuing and wants to pursue going F1 based on what I've seen. But I think all race car drivers live in the present, and living in the present means once you're strapped in, and even when you're out of that car, you're still focused on, what the task is next. And the task right now is to get that car in the number one spot for the championship. And so, like I said, living in the present, he'll be there every race. And we know he's got the team beneath him to make it happen. So I don't see any issue at all with him aspiring to be an F1 driver and losing focus on IndyCar right now.
Right. I think, we talked about it earlier in the week, or today's Monday. Can't be earlier in the week. It had to be the end of last week, right? Yeah. So, even with a mediocre season that he might have, he's had 2 really good seasons, right? So even if mediocre for him could still be top 5 in the championship if he wins a couple races again.
I don't think he wants to leave without taking the championship, though.
You would hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would hope. I don't see why you would do that, but we could do a whole show too on where he goes if he goes to McLaren Formula One, right? Whose seat does he take? Does he take? I don't, you would think Lando is pretty well entrenched there, but if somebody like Mercedes comes calling, Mercedes or Ferrari, I don't know how you could turn that down.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And Ricardo, same thing, right? I don't know where he goes from here. I mean, he left Red Bull, he went to Renault, and then went to McLaren. So I don't know what that means for.
And I don't see. I don't know how long Daniel will stay in that car, honestly. So I think that seat's sort of there for Pato if he wants it.
Yeah. Hey, one last part here to add, may not be in your notes, is Alex Zanardi. He went home this week after 18 months in the hospital, and will continue his rehab at home. I saw some on Twitter from Dario Franchitti talking about, never bet against Alex Zanardi. And there's nothing better you can say about somebody like Alex Zanardi than that.
No, he's amazing. Had an amazing life. Obviously coming out of this accident that he had, it's been a long time. 18 months is a long, long time to be in the hospital. So wish him all the best and hopefully see him back competing again at some point, or at least, back on the sidelines cheering people on.
Yep. Yeah. Continuing to be a role model and somebody to, to see and to try to emulate with that positivity. Other news. Are you tired of talking about Formula One yet? The Formula One championship specifically? The one that just finished last.
I'm always open for a discussion on Formula One.
I have 44 hat, but we've already talked about that. F1 championship. I'm like hungover from talking about Formula One and watching and listening and seeing everything on there, but it's my show. So, I'm going to put this out. So there was a lot of talk about how magnanimous Lewis was post-race and congratulating Max. Then a few days later, Lewis skips the award banquet, as does Toto. I believe there's a rule there, but I didn't look it up.
Lewis is a knight now.
Okay. And Toto is talking about Lewis possibly not carrying on next year in Formula One. To me, that kind of, and here we go, we're trying to say this on air, right? It kind of wipes away all the idea of this magnanimity. I don't dig it. I think that it continues to be sour grapes for Mercedes. And you want to walk away? See it, dude, because there's a lot of other guys that would line up and do it for a fraction of the money just for the opportunity to do it. So if you want to prove yourself, and he's a proven champion, he's got nothing to prove, but you want to prove magnanimity and, hey, we're happy for you. And, it's racing and it's sport and it isn't always fair. Excuse me. Line up next year and go get it. Go take it from him. Because Max is going to line up with the number one on his car. You're going to have a chance to look at that for, 30 some weeks next year, right? In total, including the breaks. Go get it from him.
And he'll be out there for sure. I don't see him backing off. He's going to be out there with the Mercedes team for sure. I really would have wished he went to the event and was there.
Me too.
You got to be a good sport and you got to go out there and support those that have beat you and show that you're good in defeat as well.
Yeah. Be a good role model and be a good example to the junior teams and the guys that are coming up, guys and gals, right, that are coming up behind you. And, it's a drag. It sucks. But
you
get paid.
He hasn't done anything horrific, right?
It's 20, 30, $40 million a year to drive a race car. That's pretty cool, man.
It's a good job.
Right?
It's a really good job.
Yeah. Show up, shake hands, smile, leave. And then
your boss doesn't go. Do you go?
No, right? It starts at the top.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So maybe we needed to look elsewhere on that team.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. IMSA news. Chip Ganassi Cadillac Racing announced that Danielle Shepard will be the race engineer for the O2 car. Prior to this elevation, she was the simulation engineer for Alex Palou's IndyCar Championship winning effort last season. Good
promotion.
Job. Yep. Great job, Danielle. Looking forward to good things there. We are IMSA fans for sure. And just before I sat down to do this today, we Dragon Speed Racing have announced that Colton Herta, Pato O'Ward, Devlin DeFrancesco, and Eric Lutz will line up for the Rolex 24 in Dragon Speed's LMP2 program. So that is got to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, it's
right.
Gonna be a good team.
We don't know much about Devlin. I certainly don't know anything about Eric Lutz, but we know about Hertamania 2.0 and Pato O'Ward. It's going to be a fun team to watch.
That team's going to be dynamite. And did you know the Rolex 24 field is full?
Yeah.
Completely full. That means there's going to be 60 cars for the 60th running.
Oh, cool.
Yes, which is really cool.
Yeah.
That's a 22.5% increase over 2021 when there were 49 entries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's really good.
It's good.
So there's going to be 25 for the prototype, and there's going to be 35 of the GT Paddock series in that.
Nice. Very cool.
Good.
You know, I was there, right, in with my buddy Lance in 2000, what I don't remember, but we had a ball there. I mean, despite the cold, like we're from Michigan, so we don't expect Florida to be cold, but it was Florida in late January. I don't know what we were thinking. It was cold. And we had a ball, and I can't wait to get back. And I thought we were.
Are you selling me?
Yes. I thought that we were going to take the production on tour with the first stop 24 Hours of Daytona.
Well, I'm looking at my travel schedule, and it looks like I will be in Orlando, as I told you.
Yes.
And I think I was having second thoughts today.
That's outstanding.
And second thoughts, meaning second thoughts of why am I not staying for the 24 hours? So
that's a great thought. Continue to
I think we might be doing this. So
I hope so.
We'll take that offline, but I think we're going to go.
Fingers crossed.
60 cars, you got to go, right?
I know you got to go, man. Come on.
And the lineup you just mentioned,
right?
That's amazing.
Dude, it's going to be an IndyCar, right? It's IndyCar drivers are descending upon this thing.
Yeah, there's going to be like 30
and
drivers there.
And you got great manufacturers. I mean, I'm going to miss the Fords, right? Because the last time I went, the GTs were there, and the GTs were fun to watch into the chicane. And it was.
So we do it.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. We're going.
We got to do. Yeah, we'll do an IMSA. We'll do a 24 Hours of Daytona show, maybe from the 24 Hours of Daytona.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so awesome.
Wouldn't that be?
Totally.
No, I don't even know if I can continue on this episode. So
what'd you say?
I said, I don't even know if I can continue on this episode now.
Oh, you just want to go pack your bags?
I do.
Get ready. Get your hat out. You didn't bring your hat today. Your IMSA hat.
I'm telling you, I was sending you and Billy a bunch of pictures while I was down there. And, you know, it was unlike anything I'd ever been to. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So, all right. Fingers crossed.
Get your RV down there.
It's a long week. It's a long way to go to take that. So NASCAR, the series continues to test the next gen cars. They really need to come up with better naming standards, something like iPhone maybe. So this should be like NASCAR 7. But are you following any of this?
The only thing I've seen is all the spins in turn 4.
Yeah. Isn't that great? That's great.
It's so great
for us. Yes.
I had to retweet it. I was like, oh, they're all spinning in turn 4. We're the turn 4 podcast. I'm going to retweet it. Send it out.
Exactly. So all these spins kind of indicate that these teams are having trouble getting a handle on the handling of these cars.
I would think so.
Roger Penske was asked at PRI what his thoughts were on the next gen car. His response, I wish I could tell you. Which for a guy like Roger Penske doesn't mean he doesn't know what's going on over there. It just means next question.
Yeah.
Because what he has to say
trying to
is
figure it
not great.
out.
Yeah. So Richard Petty Motorsports sold to GMS Racing.
The King.
Mr. the King.
Mm-hmm.
All right, from the movie Cars. Mr. the King.
I used to root for Richard all the time.
Of course.
He
Again,
was at the end of his career.
yes, icon, great
43 STP.
Mhm.
Those colors just went so good together.
Can't beat it.
They nailed it.
Yep.
It was almost like the Tide car. Remember when the Tide car was on the track?
Yes, of course.
I love that. Ricky Rudd was in that for a
Mhm.
while. I
Yeah.
love that too.
Yeah.
The Hooters car, not so much. Didn't dig those colors.
The Mark Martin Valvoline Ford.
Ooh, that was
right.
That was a hit.
Yes. That was a
Was
good
a
one.
hit.
Yeah.
Harry Gant and the Skull car.
Oh, yeah.
Green and white. That was awesome too. God, we could probably go on forever.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome.
And that race is not that far away. It's shortly after IMSA, the race being Daytona, the kickoff.
Are we just going to stay in Daytona for 2 weeks and we'll hang out for speed weeks or whatever?
Well,
they call
3 weeks. We might as well go to St. Pete afterwards.
Might as well do a whole Florida tour. So
yeah, let's do it.
Florida tour. So the point being here that Richard Petty is sold out to GMS Racing. Sad, maybe not unexpected. We're an IndyCar show, so pull this back in. So like AJ Foyt Racing, this team is an icon in their sport. That Richard Petty Motorsports is an icon in NASCAR. I'm hoping that the new alliance or ownership, can really get the Petty name back in victory lane. Because again, like AJ Foyt, I hate to think of these icons and the names just being field fillers.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little Extreme E news for you.
Extreme E.
Extreme
E. I like it. Let's do it. We
Yes.
talked about Extreme E with Bob Varsha.
Yes, we did. So the extent
He's
of
the
my
broadcaster, right?
Yes, he is.
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
on that call.
My extent of my extent of of Extreme E news and notes is the Andretti Autosport entry will have a new sponsorship next year by Genesis. This was the sponsor we last saw riding around with our buddy, friend of the show, James Hinchcliffe.
Yep.
And the number 29 Bellara Honda. So no word if this means Genesis is out as an IndyCar sponsor, I guess to be announced. We'll see. But Andretti does a pretty good job of sharing up and moving around some of those sponsorships and spreading some of the love across all, manners of racing that they're in. So that wraps it up for me. You got anything? Did I miss anything?
I was just checking the schedule to see if it would work out.
The
Rolex
Daytona thing?
to Daytona. Well, I guess you'd stay in the same place and then over to St. Pete. I think that's just 4 weeks in separation, all those races. That's not too bad.
Do you want to
do that January 29th through the 30th at Daytona for the Rolex 24? February 20th, that's like a month for Daytona. And then you get the Firestone right after that on the 25th and 27th, the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Pete.
Amen.
I guess we could take a break and come home for a few days.
Change your clothes.
Yeah.
It's the family. Tell them we love them still.
Yeah. Make sure the
Roll
kids
back
are
out to
tucked in
Florida.
their beds.
Yep.
All that
Roll
good
back
stuff.
out to Florida. Good to go.
Wow. That'd be cool.
I'm excited. I can't.
I want to hear what the
up.
Florida
That's breaking
fans
news.
have to say. The Florida listeners, right?
The Florida
Have they
listeners
ever
are saying,
done
come on
the-
down.
I'll call it the three-peat. I don't think it's a Pete, but the three, the trifecta. Have they done the trifecta? If you have, let us know how it is.
24 hours
Really-
at Daytona, the Daytona 500,
Yeah.
and the IndyCar race at St. Pete.
Yeah. All within a month.
3 separate disciplines too. I love it.
It is. Be awesome. Anyway,
It's nothing like.
if anybody's
I'm telling
done
you,
it, let us know.
Daytona is nothing like it.
You
So-
know, there's people out there that have done that.
sure there are. Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
a lot of them.
Absolutely. So this is our last episode of the calendar year. It's not our last episode. So I want to first thank the listeners and those who follow us on our YouTube channel. I feel like our project here is progressing nicely. I like where we're at. It's been certainly a lot of fun. We remain committed to this and really look forward to the 2022 season. I've enjoyed more than anything the guests that we've had, James Hinchcliffe and Bob Varsha. That has the idea that we had guests and guests with names, right? With readily recognizable
Great
names.
people too.
Yeah, great people, great conversations.
Mhm.
Yeah, great people. Far exceeded any of my expectations for this show. I hope we'll continue to bring you good content and guests from time to time. We've certainly reached out to people. No luck with some of the reach outs so far, but some of the people that I'd like to see on here, and these are not the folks necessarily that we've reached out to recently, but a lot of those guys have pods of their own, right? I mean, a lot in the IndyCar community and amongst the broadcasters, people like Kevin Lee. I enjoy his podcast with Kirk Cavan. I enjoy that a lot. I would love to have Kevin Lee on the show. I'd love to have Kevin Lee on the show, bring Jackson Lee with him, right? And talk about Jackson's program and what's Jackson doing, and give us the perspective of the young driver. And I don't, do we consider that the IndyCar ladder series? I don't know, but it would be fun to see and hear from somebody who is doing it right now, and hear his dad, who is his dad, but also somebody who is in the know in IndyCar and in IndyCar circles and how that works. So similarly, Nathan Brown, I would love to have Nathan Brown on the show. I think he brings good perspective. He's got his own show that he does with Jack Harvey. But you never know. It really just like we found with, any situation, I guess, just reaching out. But, to me, those are some of the guys that I listen to that I think would be great guests. And people that I think I've been hesitant to invite because they have their own pod. So I'm also hopeful that IndyCar Media will give us access to their media side too at some point.
For sure.
I've reached out to them a few times. So we'll have to do that again. So
we know they're all listening. So just give us access.
Yeah, for sure. So, hey, but yeah, thank you. I mean, I can't thank each and every one of you enough for, checking in with us every other week and, watching us on the YouTube and listening to us here. I mean, this has been fun. What was the stat that we saw a long time ago, Tim? Was a lot of podcasts don't get past episode 7.
That is true.
So, and
we're on 14.
Yeah, we've exceeded it. So,
or 15. I've lost track.
I think this is 16.
Oh, see, I've had so much fun. Time flies. I have no idea. Yeah.
I did one on my own. What are your thoughts?
I think you said it really well. You summed it up. I think a lot of what I said, I wrote on our website, and I think a lot of that still holds true with, the organization of this and when it all came to fruition, if you will, and where it would take us. No idea. So we've had some great guests. I anticipate having a lot more too. The ones that we've had on want to come back, so we're going to have them on at some point during the 2022 season. Is the hope.
Open invitation, right, for Varsha or Hinch to come back on this show anytime.
Yeah, and they so they wanted to do it, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And this has just begun. This is just the beginning, right? We're just started off, and episode 16, I guess we're on. I guess I better keep track of that a little more. Thanks, Dan, for keeping me honest there. But we're back on the 3rd, right? Right after the new year. Yeah.
So, hey, Merry Christmas, Timmy.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah.
Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. I hope you have a great time with your family.
Yeah.
I'm looking to do so, and I think, and I know, Dan, you're looking to do the same. So
for sure,
it'll be good.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you did a great job on the intro. You want to do the outro?
No, I don't have it. I'll let you do the outro.
Hey, that wraps up this episode of the Turn 4 podcast. We'll continue to bring you content regularly on our biweekly cadence. The next episode will be January 3rd. So be sure to subscribe using your favorite podcast app. If you like the show and listen on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave us a review. Engage with us on Twitter, our website, or our YouTube channel. All the links will be in the show notes. And this time I'll remember to include our email address. So if you want to send us an email, please feel free to do that. So until next time, thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.